Elena Vance, the idea came to me when, I think a couple years before we started shooting, I went to Peacock Lane with my family. One of those things you can do, Christmassy things you can do with your families, you can take them to Peacock Lane. And so we did that, and there was a point where we were taking pictures of a house that everybody else had their cell phones up, and they were all taking pictures of the house as well. And I thought it'd be interesting if there was something going on inside the house that, besides the Christmas lights, through a window you could see something going on, and all these people taking pictures maybe had a different angle of the same thing going on. So maybe it was a murder going on or something else, but everybody's angle would tell maybe a slightly different story. And so that was one kernel. And then I was also thinking about a lot of kind of 70s paranoid thriller type movies. I wanted to surround myself with a lot of people because I knew there was a lot of work to be done, and in the past I've worn so many hats that it can be kind of exhausting that I kind of wanted to give these hats to other people. But on the other hand, something that stresses me out a lot is I feel like filmmaking can be so hard because you start with this vision like you do with any work of art, and by the end of the film sometimes it's gone through so many people that the end result, the vision's diluted or changed, or it's just not what it was before. It doesn't have the same potency.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about coverage on all the dialogue.
And so a lot of times, I would give a shot idea, and Jesse, the DP, would say, "No, how about this?" And if it was different than the vision I had, I would say no, and he'd be fine with that. But a lot of times, I would say, "That's a great idea. Do that." And so I just tried to stay open, and as long as people were coming up with ideas that were within the framework of the movie, I let them do it. And so sometimes when I think of a director, I think, well, director's just guiding people, but a director's not the creative mastermind sometimes that people think. He's just directing all these other people that, are putting just as much into the movie as they are. I remember on day 2, there were people asking me for their motivations, and other people were saying, "Hey, when do you want these extras? When do you want this? And when do you want this?" And that was a big reason why I wanted all these people like producers and PAs to be able to handle a lot of that stuff. But at the same time, no matter what, you're going to have people pulling on you from all angles. And it can be exhausting. I enjoy that. I enjoy people coming up and asking questions, even when like an actor is interrogating me, asking me for, what's my motivation. That's great because he wants to, make sure he's doing the character justice and he's, creating the vision the way I want it. So yeah, I think all those things just kind of energize me. I just love making movies so much, so if I'm overwhelmed on set with all these questions, I mean, it's almost blissful because I love that, yeah.
Or you live in that one?
I live in that one.
Oh, okay.
I want you to turn it
It's really
this
hard
way.
to make them fall out.
Okay, so
And if you do,
whatever
it
that
has
is,
my name on
counterclockwise,
it.
clockwise. We could have somebody crouched up there, and then when they hear that line, knock on the window, and that means come forward and start stroking.
Okay, got it.
That way, back to you, and just say, hey, your line, and then back to Amy. Okay?
Time?
Amy?
It is, hi Mom, sorry you can't make it out this year.
Ryan? Perfect.
Laughing, kind of. It's raining, so I'm not laughing. Anyway, back to Trish.
And I think that's what directing is you just have to set people up to succeed. You have to make sure they have what they need and channel their freedom, kind of make sure they're going towards what you want, that they're not just going off in all sorts of different directions. But if you give them the freedom to be able to flex their own skills toward this goal, this very specific thing that you want, to me that's directing, is kind of directing them, to a certain vision, but not dictating exactly what they do. I guess a lot of it, I would love to say I just wanted people to practice their craft, but a lot of it was, a selfish reason. I look back and said, okay, I'm making this movie now, and I've made all these connections in the past few years. I want all these people to work on my movie because they're so insanely talented. And that's the hardest part to me of directing is you're a lot of times paying attention to the camera, but there's these performances that you also have to pay attention to. Because many times I've gotten in the editing room and said, "Ooh, God, it's not a great performance, and it's all my fault because, I didn't steer it the other direction." So yeah, it's a balancing act between giving them a little bit but not giving them too much, so that they can make their own decisions.
For
Shutting down traffic over there. Anti-cops.
Oh, got it. Awesome.
Yeah, that's probably long enough.
Long enough.
Good. Okay. Did you guys see that? And so I also wanted to surround myself with all these people that really understood the vision and had done this sort of thing before in a lot of cases. And in ideal circumstances, I think people who understand the vision really well can contribute ideas that are even more true to the vision than something you could have imagined yourself. So a lot of these collaborators were able to, I think, bring things to the project that were almost more true to the movie than what I would have done. So that was kind of the idea, was just bringing in as many creatives as possible, and once they understood the vision, just letting them do their thing and let the movie become something, you know, even more true to itself than what I thought it was. Cut. That's it. That's it.
We're moving on.
The movie making process is about figuring out what the vision is. I mean, you start with a screenplay and you might think, oh, I'm the writer, so I know what the movie's about. But it's a process, and the filmmaking process, you know, being on set is not just ironing out the script in a video form so people can see it. It's figuring out what the movie is. So the vision is a continual process, coming up with the vision. I think you're still coming up with the vision, you know, through post-production when it ends. So, long story short, I think you have to be open as a director to the fact that your vision is not etched in stone, and that the vision becomes more clear every day as you go on and of course you can take wrong turns and all of a sudden the vision becomes diluted or it becomes something that it shouldn't be. It takes away from what made the idea so great in the first place. But if you do everything right, which I've never done, but I feel like I did more right maybe on this last production than I have before, then when you get to the end, most of the vision's intact, and I feel like that happened with Elena Vance.